Welcome to another episode of the Sexuality Scale Project podcast. Happy that you're here. This is the second pre-pandemic episode I recorded, which I lost and then I found. In this episode, we are talking about abortion, the morning after pill, hormones and depression, great long loving relationships, how free sexual health clinics are so important, and that adulting is sometimes really hard.
You're still having me as well, I guess.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm good today.
Good to hear. Well, why don't you introduce yourself? Your name, age, how long you've been in Berlin, how do you identify?
Okay, so I'm Stephanie. I'm 29. I've been in Berlin for 2 years. And I identify as straight, I guess.
Okay. That's
straight with, other things.
What is straight with other things?
So this is why I don't really like
labels.
The labels, yeah. So, the majority of the people that I have been with are male, but I have had sexual experiences with female. And yeah, I've enjoyed them just as much or more as other experiences with guys, but I seem to lead towards guys.
If you hear a dog breathing in the background, and that's Sky, whom I will not be interviewing today. I'll leave that for another podcast. Like animal tidbits. Okay, so you're like a more leaning towards straight bisexual.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've never been in a romantic relationship with a woman at all, I would assume. So it's just been sex. So then you're definitely a bisexual and straight romantic. If you really want to label it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right.
I've been looking for that for
years. Well, that was the podcast. We're done. No, yeah. So how have your 2 years in Berlin been, dating-wise?
So I would put one thing out there in that when I came here, I actually ended a relationship that I was perfectly happy in. And I would say it was probably one of my strongest loves. So coming here was quite difficult to then get involved with, other experiences when I wasn't really finished with the last,
Was that here, that relationship?
No, it was back in the UK.
Okay, so it was back in the UK. And how long was that relationship for?
2 years. So it wasn't that long. Like, I've been in a relationship for 7 years before that. But this one was just, it was just the strongest connection that I'd had with someone before. But it was also, I guess was it messy? It wasn't even that messy, really. We were just very strong characters and we knew what we wanted and we knew that a long distance was not going to work for both of us.
So you didn't want to stay in the UK?
No.
You came to Berlin very consciously. You made a conscious decision to move here.
Yeah.
It wasn't a job. It was really just...
I looked for a job here.
Yeah.
So I moved when I got the job, but I was consciously looking to move. But at that point, he had also gone traveling, and I kind of realized that I was really relying on him for my happiness in the UK, and I just sort of thought, I'm not sure if that's okay. And moving to Berlin had been put on hold after I'd met him, because I think it was about 4 years I'd planned to move to Berlin, and then I met him and it kind of got put on hold. So it kind of got to the point when I realized he wasn't around, how happy I really was in the UK, and realized that I wasn't going to be able to do the things that I wanted to do in London, especially.
Right. Okay. So after, it's kind of sad when you break up a relationship, I think, for any other reasons than falling out of love.
I know, yeah.
So that makes it very hard. So I can sympathize with that. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Long distance is hard. I've also been in long distance, in a very good long distance relationship.
Yeah.
The distance was Stockholm, Amsterdam, and for a while it worked really well for us.
Yeah.
But then you have to have the liberty and the freedom, I guess, also with work to really make that happen.
Yeah.
To be able to spend at least a week together every month is a luxury.
I mean, it could be quite nice, like you have the certain amount of time doing your own thing and like moving forward as your own person, and then you really have time to dedicate to that one person, right? When you do see them. But the thing is, he didn't really know what he wanted to do. We can hear Sky having a drink.
Sky's having
Do we have a drink now? So yeah, he didn't really know what he wanted to do. He'd come back from traveling. And I think what he did know is that he wanted to move around with his work. So actually the long distance for us would have been me moving away, and he would have probably been traveling about. So it wouldn't have been long distance Berlin, London. It would have been long distance. Where is he going to be in the world at the time?
Are you still in touch?
We were for a really long time. And then I kind of realized that I wasn't managing well enough. I would be fine. And then I would get like some music from him or just a little message, and it would just send me into like a 2-day spiral of constantly thinking of him again. And now that we're not so much in touch, I don't think of him as much, and I'm slowly being able to possibly see myself with someone else
So have you been seeing other people since you moved here?
Yes. Getting myself out there again, I guess, because I had really... Or not. So I was in a 7-year relationship, and then I was in a 2-year relationship, and then a 2-year relationship. So it was really, I had always been with someone from the age of like 14, either maybe with like a year in between each one or something. So this is the longest that I've been single in a really long time. And when I got here, I went on a couple of dates, and I think it was more so to cover the fact that I was missing my ex. First guy, actually, I think if I had met him now, maybe we could have gone a little bit further, but I wasn't ready to commit at the time. It was too early in me kind of having this split, moving to Berlin. I wasn't there enough.
Yeah, you need to focus on yourself for a little bit.
Yeah, and he definitely wanted more than I did. So unfortunately that kind of cleared up. But that was a really nice little, just the first, relationship, if you could say, that I got involved in when I got here. But then after that, it just kind of went downhill from the dating game for me.
What do you mean downhill?
Just not very good experiences, to be honest.
Okay, we'll get back to that in a little bit. Yeah. You said you had been in relationships from the age of 14, right? So then it was a 7-year relationship from the age of 14 already.
Yeah.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about, I always ask about the first sexual experience. How did that go? Was it good or not? Or was it intimidating? Tell me about your first sexual experience. And was that with this person of 7 years?
Actually, no. I know. So I was...
No judgment.
I was too young. My first sexual experience, I was too young. Way too young. I just turned 14. So when I met my boyfriend of 7 years, I think I was just turning 15. Mm-hmm. Maybe I was 15 actually. Yeah, because he wouldn't have been, because he was actually a year younger than me. So I would have been 15 really? When I met my 7-year boyfriend. Yeah. So I would have been 15, just turning 16.
Right.
And my first sexual experience with a boy, and I had just turned 14. Yeah. And he was actually 18, but I had lied and said I was 16, and yeah, so he actually didn't. That wasn't really his fault. That was my fault. Oh, it was really funny as well because we found out our ages because it was his 18th birthday and his parents invited my parents and they got talking. And my dad was like, yeah, well, I'm a bit worried about Steph because she's that little bit younger, but I think, I won't say his name, is very lovely and I trust him and, you know, I think you're a lovely family, blah, blah, blah. And his mum was like, this is 18th birthday, you know, like she's 14. We thought that she was 16. And that was, yeah, a bit of an intense time for my family, my mum and dad. They were great though. They actually let me continue to date him, but it was very monitored. And, but obviously being kids, you always find a way, don't you? So yeah, so I definitely wasn't ready, but at the same time, no, he was actually very drunk. I remember wanting to stop and he was just like, no, I'm fine. I'll recite you my ABCs backwards, and started doing it. And I was like, oh, this is the worst sexy memory ever. But actually it made me laugh, and he was fine. We stopped, and, you know, we actually didn't again after that. He was, you know, very respectful of that. Until, yeah, we broke up because, again, we were long distance. He lived in Cornwall.
Oh, really?
And I lived in London, yeah.
But did this happen in Cornwall?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because my family lived there. So we go down there a lot. Or we used to go down there a lot on half terms and summer holidays. We've been together for 6 months. But that feels like forever when you're a kid.
Okay, so then you met the 7-year relationship.
Yeah.
But as for your first experience, I mean, it doesn't sound like it was mind-blowing.
Not really. No. I really got into having fun, enjoyable sex when I was, I'll say his name because he's lovely and we're still friends, but James.
Right.
We had such a great relationship. 7 years of just like pure love, to be honest, and growing with each other and helping each other, just turning to the people that I guess are still a big part of our personalities today. It was a great relationship, but we just 7 years at that age, like I got to think I was 22 when we broke up. I wanted to go traveling and do things, and that just wasn't him. So we went our set. Yeah, we did start to have different interests. I started going out a lot more with my new group of friends. He started a business at the age of like 23, and it is still going amazingly well, like today. He was it was so funny because he always was the one that skipped school, never came into school, got told off, smoked weed really early on, was in a band, got in trouble a lot. And then he turned 22, 23 and he was like, nah, and then just changed his ways. And then I think I went the opposite way and wanted to go out and party and travel. And it was like we swapped. But
so you would say that was a good, solid relationship, growing together, and good sexual.
Yeah, definitely.
Were there in between the next person?
Yeah,
you had a 2-year relationship with.
Yeah.
Were there like one night stands or flings in between that?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
so just your wild
yeah, exactly.
Letting your hair down
is the nice way to say it, I guess.
I don't know, like if that's your thing, like go for it, because being free to do that, feeling good about it. Yeah, I think there's too much stigma on women having casual sex anyway.
Yeah,
good for you.
Yeah, had fun and learned some stuff, and
of course, I think with every new person you learn something.
Yeah, exactly.
Also about yourself.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So you sowed your wild oats?
Yeah, sowed some wild oats. I had some quite bad experiences during that time as well. Like I actually fell pregnant.
Oh, wow. Okay. How old were you then? So that was like 22, 23?
No, actually, sorry, I've got my timeline wrong. Okay, so I've had 2 little wild oat stages. So that would have been one after my 7-year relationship. And then I had a 2-year relationship.
And then there's another one there.
So that's in the middle.
Right.
And then after that, I had another year of like wild oats again.
Right.
And that's kind of the point where I fell pregnant. And I had an abortion, but the guy so very unlucky for me, he called it off. I was actually really upset. I really liked him. And then he was very young. He was only 18. Okay. And I was actually quite a bit older by this point.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
Yeah, so and he the way that it ended was all very like just an 18-year-old ending a relationship, basically. Right. And I was also super frustrated at myself that I'd even expected anything different, you know. It was actually my boss at the time that was like, Steph, I think you're pregnant. I think you need to go and get checked.
How so?
She's like a
witch.
Psychic, like, you know, with her like crystal ball and all her gold, and she was always preempting things, you know. And her dog was following me around the studio, and she was like, Steph, I think you need to go and get a pregnancy test. Yeah. So, that actually put me in a really bad way for a really long time. I think abortion is, people don't talk about it enough, and I think when you get it done, it's way too casual, and I don't think it's explained to you. I think you should actually be offered some sort of support. For when it happens after, because I would say that put me aside for a good 4 years. Really? Yeah. Really long time. And I think it's because I also am quite a maternal person too.
Right. So do you think that people expect when women go through abortion that they're getting support from their friends, family, or their partner at that point?
I think a lot of people are afraid to tell. I told my sisters and I told my friends, but it's not like I wanted to tell, I didn't want to tell my mum or my dad because I knew that it would really, really, really worry them, to be honest. And I knew that it was something that I had to do. And I just didn't want to put especially my mum, she worries. And I didn't want to put her through that. And my sister was super understanding because she knows my parents well, I guess. So I had a lot of support with the people around me, but I didn't know what to expect. I was like 2 months in as well. So I was definitely there, you know, with the hormones and stuff. And it's literally, your body's preparing for, to be maternal and to have this thing, and it's taken away from you. And then the hormones are just left there. And it goes, and then I really struggled with it. When I really got really, really, really low after. And I think...
Did you go to the doctor? Did you say, like, I just had an abortion?
I feel like I didn't really realize it was happening to me at the time. And it wasn't until like maybe 2 years later, after I realized I'd got myself into this situation where I was so unhappy, that a lot of it stemmed from that.
Hormones have such an impact on us, and I think people underestimate.
Oh God,
how much
really
impact.
They do.
You know, like people joke about PMS, but I know.
Yeah, just like, you're just on your period, and it's just like, do you want to try?
Like, it's just, sometimes it's just terrible.
Give it a go and see how you deal with it.
Yeah, and for every woman, it's different.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's so much shame and secrecy in the world to talk about these things.
I'm so open about it now. I don't care if I make anyone feel uncomfortable.
No,
like if
don't give a shit about making them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the only way for people to start actually thinking about it.
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
them feel uncomfortable. I think that's a good thing. For 4 years, damn. So how did you kind of get out of that?
The boyfriend that I was talking about before I moved here, he helped me a lot.
Okay.
He made me feel, because I think by the time it had been maybe 4 years of me really going into this thing, I think by the end it started from the abortion and then it went into something else. I think once you get into a depression, it can lead into, there are other aspects that then make you, depressed, or, you know, it kind of snowballs basically. There's lots of different things, and you become unmotivated. You become, you know, the smallest things are difficult to, you know, say you owe money or something like this. You can't open a bill, you can't open a letter, or, you know, and lots of things. It just snowballed, and I became, you know, it was weird because I was very functioning in my day-to-day life. I did really well at my job and I was moving up in my job. I kind of started as a assistant, ended up as kind of the manager before I left. But I realized I was working up in this job that, although I loved it, after 8 years, I was there for 8 years, I didn't really enjoy it anymore. And I was just comfortable, you know, and too scared to step out of my comfort zone, and that wasn't me. I'd never been that person, and I started to really hate myself to why I'd become this person, and I didn't understand why. It took me a long time to realize where it had stemmed from and what it had become. But then I met my ex, and he was just great. It was funny as well because he didn't believe in depression. I really had to explain it to him. He really thought it was just like a way of thinking, you know? And I think until he met me, he didn't really realize actually what it was about. And
yeah, you have no control over it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he was just great. He really helped me and got me out of it. And yeah, and then when he went traveling, I think he had made me so happy, and he'd made me feel confident within myself that I felt confident then to actually really make changes. Yeah, it was just a shame that I ended up losing that person who helped me get out of it. But
I do believe that people come into your lives
for a reason,
for a journey.
Yeah, 100%.
I think sometimes it's not meant to be forever.
Yeah, and that's the most beautiful thing with this relationship as well. I'll never look back on it with like any sort of remorse or regrets. And yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't be doing this podcast project if my ex hadn't broken my heart.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. And I mean, the boyfriend that I was talking about that was in the middle, he was bisexual, and then actually towards the end, it turned out that he was like, Steph, I'm gay. Like, I'm definitely 100% gay. And I was just like, okay, right.
Wait.
I know. That's a new story for you.
Yeah.
I've just slipped in there.
That's like a plot twist if I heard one. Really?
Yeah.
So that was another additional layer of surprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was super hard, but I loved him so much, and I knew that he'd been going through a lot of hardship during our relationship. My relationship was very much me reassuring him in himself, in his life, in the things that he was doing. And then it all just kind of made sense to me, because for me, I felt like, how much love can I give him to make him, you know, feel confident in himself? And then at the end, I was like, this is quite nice. I know that he was going through this and he's come out of it, and now he can finally be himself. And we're still so close. Like, he's one of my best friends, and also he's in an amazing relationship with another amazing person, and he's just finally happy, and he just went through so much. It was very difficult because I loved him, but then at the same time it was an amazing outcome for him. So
yeah, but I think when you really love someone, you don't want to be egotistical and keep them to yourself.
Of course,
like, you want them to be happy.
Yeah.
So whatever the outcome, and it was just as hard for him
as it was for me to end it. You know, he always said to me, I don't know if I'm ever actually going to love a person as much as I love you, and that's what's messing me up here. And I was like, well, you've got to go find out. Obviously, after falling on the floor in tears. But yeah.
Very dramatic. I mean, you know, the love is so beautiful, but there's also so much crying and pain and depression and not eating or too much eating.
That
comes with
exactly.
it. Drinking.
Excessive
drinking.
Hiding.
Oh, goodness.
I think the main thing that I always found with you know, relationships, like heartache, I guess, is it knocks your confidence a lot. And I was always very worried about, you know, the next endeavor. I was always...
What do you mean the next endeavor?
Well, I always got super panicked, like, I'm going to have to do this all again with someone else and da-da-da. I think only until this year that I came to Berlin.
Yeah, starting over.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It made me realise, like, well, you don't necessarily have to do this with someone else. Like, you can just chill. That's fine.
No, but I do understand the doom and gloom of, like, having to go on that date. And then you're going to have to tell that person all about
first
yourself
kiss.
Again, and
that's
then
petrifying to me.
The first kiss, is someone a good kisser? You really like someone.
My face, it has to be next to their face. And also, a kiss is what I give to someone that I care about and that I'm super passionate about. And there's always this kind of like what we were saying before we started, there's always this thing where you feel pressured to if you're on a date, to have a first kiss. And it's like, for me, I actually feel like a lot of the time kissing can be way more passionate and involved, and there needs to be more of a connection for me to enjoy it, you know, to enjoy a kiss. Like, you can enjoy sex, you get pleasure from the act of sex. Kissing, yeah, it's pleasurable, but it's pleasurable when you do it with someone that you're connected with and you're super attracted with.
This is fascinating. Okay, new chapter. So you're saying that you find kissing, and I think a lot of people have this actually, that kissing is more intimate than just sex.
It can be.
Than the act of sex.
Can be, yeah.
That's why I think a lot of prostitutes don't want to kiss.
Yeah, 100%,
right?
yeah.
But, so let's go to a one-night stand that you've had.
Okay.
Tell me about a one-night stand that was amazing.
That was amazing.
Because then kissing, I want to hear about the kissing
This
as
well. This was back in the UK. And he was actually a friend of mine. And
Emotional connection,
yeah. And it was just really fun. All laughs, giggles. It was amazing sex as well, because he was just good at what he did. And we just...
Why was it good?
Because I think he probably did it quite a lot. In fact, I knew he did it quite a lot.
But he must have known what to do.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I guess he was just... Well, I guess if he is experienced, then he knows how to pick up on signals, I guess.
See, that's a very important key secret to you know, understanding.
Which I don't think a lot of people do.
With also two women, I've noticed not all women know how women work.
Yeah.
But if you read the signals properly, then you're good at sex.
And if you're friends with someone, it's easy to be... you feel way more comfortable to tell them as well.
I was just going to say, was there communication?
Yeah. A tiny bit, but I feel like he did pretty well on his own as well. But I did feel comfortable to be like, okay, let's switch up. I mean, this lasted for a good, 6 hours. Like,
Jesus.
Obviously, resting and chatting and then continue. But it was just like... And it was probably the only night where I've, really done it for that amount of time, where I've been like, okay, can we go to sleep now? Like, I'm really tired. I don't know if I can do this anymore. It was just a good balance of, just chatting, having fun, and having good sex.
Good.
Yeah.
Now tell me about a very terrible one-night stand. A horrible one.
So I say recently, I hadn't had sex.
Oh, this is a Berlin one.
This is a Berlin one, yeah. We really did just meet up, and you could tell that both of us were just ready to go have sex.
Was it a Tinder date or?
It was a Tinder date, yeah. Okay. My least favorite of all the dates.
I know this is not visual, but she just rolled her eyes when she said Tinder date.
Big eye roll, yeah.
Big eye roll.
So we went and had a couple of drinks. He was really nice. We got on really well. We laughed a lot. We did just go back to his house really after a couple of drinks. We were quite drunk by this point. And he just... the kissing was really nice, and the foreplay was actually really nice as well. He definitely didn't just go, try and go straight in or anything like that. But he kept on doing this thing where every now and then he would be going at a nice pace, like it would be very sensual, and then all of a sudden it would be a really hard I know, sorry.
One time?
Very graphic, guys, sorry. But he
a hard pound?
Like a hard pound, yeah. And I would be like, oh, okay, right. So after a couple of times of that, I kind of tried to hold him back when I could feel he was about to do it, just to give him the signal that, no, this isn't very nice. I would have thought he would have gauged from, my vocal reaction.
I mean, what position were you in?
So he was behind me, but we were lying on our sides.
Oh, okay.
By this point, yeah.
Right.
So it was a nice position. That's one of my favourites. But all of a sudden, he'd just hold me really tight and just right,
That is so
real,
weird.
real hard as well. Like, I am not, I quite like rough sex with the right person if I'm connected to them and I feel like I communicate.
Yeah, but one time?
Just one time, every now and then, like, da 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 da, boom, la 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 la, boom.
Like he was composing.
Yeah, not very well.
That is so weird, though.
Well, it gets worse. So,
oh no.
So we stop halfway because I kind of then turned around and was a bit like, oh, I need to, like, let's chill for a bit. I think you need to calm down. Let's sit, like, have a cigarette, whatever. So we went, and then we got back to it. And we carried on having sex, and he did calm down a bit. I think he kind of realised, like, because I said to him, like, can you just be a bit more gentle? Like, it's been actually quite a long time since I've had sex, as well as I'm, that's hurting me, basically. And he was like, I'm so sorry, very apologetic. Anyway, we continued to have sex again, and then he came. I didn't, but that's also totally fine. But he came inside me, which was fine. But I realised after the break that we'd had, he hadn't put another condom on.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, we already had this discussion before that I haven't been on a contraceptive for a while, and I would like to use condoms anyway because I don't know you, and
No, yeah,
and
you
he
should.
was totally fine with that. Some guys aren't, actually. Some guys do roll their eyes at that, which I find super frustrating. Yeah, and this was another thing as well, because it's like, okay, so you knew that I wasn't on contraceptive. You didn't think about the fact to put another condom on. And now your comment is, oh, we go and get the morning after pill. Do you know what the morning after pill does? Like, it puts a girl, again, another thing that I don't think people really realise. It's another month of crazy hormones, and your body's like, it's a false period. It's like crazy hormones. Your period doesn't then regulate properly for a good month or two, sometimes, depending on the body. And yeah, it's just another month where a girl has to go through just emotions, hormones, ups and downs, and it's just fine because it's just an easy little pill,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because that I don't know, that very loose just assumption of it's going to be fine, there's a pill for everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why aren't you taking the pill,
there's not a pill
motherfucker?
for you guys.
I'm sure there are,
Yeah.
but they're just not being sold.
It is out there for men. They have created it, but they don't know about the side effects. And it's like, do you know what the side effects are for us?
I know.
We are literally the generation of guinea pigs they only came in the 50s or the 60s or something. When I was with my boyfriend before here, he was like, Steph, if you don't want to take it, do not take it. We'll work out another way. And I started using the Flow app. Shout out to Flow, I love you. It's amazing.
Yeah, I have a similar one.
It's amazing. I think it's like, we used condoms for like the 2 weeks that you are maybe or fertile. And the other 2 times, we just made sure that the other 2 weeks, we just made sure that he withdrew before. And yeah, that was dangerous, but it did actually last for 2 years, and I was totally fine. And I think as well with him, is we were kind of like, if we fell pregnant,
it would have been fine.
Yeah, I'd be happy for it.
But
anyway.
not with a one night stand.
No, of course not. No,
not with this guy.
No.
So, okay, so no condom.
Yeah.
Then there's the scare.
And then he asked me, after that, I was like, you can't do that. That's really out of order. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't think about it.
But how did you miss it, though? I'm always curious about this because I obviously don't have straight sex.
Well, so
you're having sex with a guy.
Yeah.
And then you go back to it. So you took a break.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to pee.
Yeah.
Also, ladies, make sure you pee after sex with men.
Yeah, super important.
Super important.
I had this quite recently where I needed to stop halfway through, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I need to pee. And he looked really shocked, and I was like, yeah, they don't show the pee breaks in porn, do they? He was like, okay, that's actually hilarious. That's true.
It's so important to pee. I always pee after sex.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I don't know.
I should have noticed. You're right. I should have noticed.
No, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. How sneaky can men, like, you know, because I'm gonna blame the guy, obviously, but that's my bias.
Yeah.
To where he's like being sneaky about it and not showing or letting you know.
Yeah.
Or
well, I will give this guy the benefit of the doubt in that we had a break, we had a cigarette. I did go out and go to the toilet. I came back in. He was already in bed. We started like kissing each other, and he was on top of me pretty quickly before, like, there was no foreplay by this second round, I guess. And yeah, he put it in, and I don't think you can necessarily tell once it's in you whether you actually have a condom on. And he came pretty quickly, obviously, because he didn't have a condom on.
right,
So,
and also he was probably. Was he still aroused when?
yeah,
when
by
the
the
break?
time, well, by the time I got into bed, by going to the toilet, he was like, zoop, like
Yeah.
straight on, like, you know.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was ready to go.
Yeah, he was ready to go. So there could have been the fact that, and we were both drunk. So
Yeah, that doesn't help.
yeah, so there could have been that he forgot totally. And I mean, I guess you could say that it was, you know, both of us that should have, you know, but I just think if I was a guy and I knew that I was about to come inside a girl that could get pregnant from it.
No, I didn't think about that.
Like, but you would
no,
think,
what I would,
I haven't got a
what I
condom
would
on.
prefer, no, but what I would prefer, I mean, that they don't think about.
Ugh.
But in the heat of that moment, still, what I do want men to think about. So if there are any men listening, what I do want you to think about is that also girls have STDs, dumbasses. So
Yeah,
if you do go in there without a condom, it might happen that you catch something.
Especially if she's asked you to put a condom on. She might already know she's got one.
Yeah. Like, how dumb is that? So therefore, guys, just put on a condom.
Yeah, it's so worth it. But it's just, I mean, a lot of people don't want to do it. Funny as well, because I would say that I was not very good at this when I was younger. I had a lot of unprotected sex when I was younger. I was on the pill.
Did you ever catch anything?
No, I didn't. And do you know what's so funny is that I have definitely slept with probably 3 or 4 times the amount of guys as my best friend, and she, bless her, after the 3rd guy that she slept with caught something. Like, how can you have slept with so many guys and not have caught anything? And I've slept with 3, and I was like, well, that goes to show you just never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
No.
That's another thing that I find difficult with Berlin. In the UK, we have sexual health clinics, and you can walk right in there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's free. You don't have to. Everyone is always so nice. It's very lighthearted. It doesn't feel, it's not an uncomfortable experience at all. And you go in there, you get tested for everything. You get HIV, absolutely everything, and you do it all there, and you get your results back. And it's super easy but it seems to be, I've never done it here, but everyone that has said to me, oh God, I need to go get tested. It's going to cost me this amount of money for each one. Sometimes they say to you, well, you don't need this one, even if you want to just be sure.
And they give you, I think from what I've heard, they give you an attitude about it as well.
Bit of a rough time, yeah, about it. And
like as if you're some filthy animal.
Yeah. And I kind of think, well, that's not going to help the situation, is it? People are going to be worried to go get tested, and it's more likely that people just won't.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like, we as women, no matter what your sexual orientation is, and also trans women, we need to do something about that.
Yeah.
In Germany.
Yeah, I agree. I would be on board to help if...
I mean, I know for gay men, especially in Berlin, there's stuff there. I know in Cologne there's stuff there.
Yeah.
But I do think for women in general, like this stigma of like, if we want to go have everything checked.
Yeah.
Like yeah, we can go to a gynecologist, but then still we get this attitude.
Have you ever been on any of the women's groups on Facebook? And it is, people are constantly asking me, please, someone find me a good, friendly gynecologist. Like, please. And I think that's also quite hard because firstly, I don't think there's actually that many of them that people go to and have like amazing experiences with. And
well, it's never really fun. Obviously.
Well, of course, it's never really fun. But more often than not, that I see these things where it's like, don't go there. This person's horrible. Da 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 da. And I'm like, what is it? I mean, I've never done it. I usually do anything like that back in the UK, and I'm a bit sort of like, really? What's going on here? Like, am I missing something? Maybe I should go and see what's going on because really, I've noticed so many bad. It
wasn't great in Amsterdam either.
Yeah.
I was traumatized. I actually had to go to a sex therapist for a year.
Oh, no.
And get physical therapy.
Oh, God. I just think it's bizarre that you can have in your profession be able to, someone can just be like, you know, straight in, open, need to do this. You know, your profession is to work with like humans in a very vulnerable state. Are you not able, like, maybe chat with them first? I don't know. Like, there's got to be something you can do to prevent.
Nothing. And I'm like, I'm a human being with a very sensitive vagina.
Yeah, like, please.
Respect
that and know what job you have. You know, like, understand what your job.
So there was another pregnancy.
Oh, right, yeah, but not as far as it. Yeah, it was the morning after pill I went, which is
So you got that again, hormone.
My friend Mary got that, who I love. Thank you so much, Mary. I was really scared. It was really funny because
that was here, right?
That was here, yeah. Yeah, so she got it for me because I was like too scared to go, and she also, funnily enough, the same night had a similar sort of situation, and she needed to go and get it.
Oh no!
So we both. It was really nice.
So she got two.
She got two, but I was really. I was very upset about the whole thing, and she. Obviously, she's German. She's like my best friend here as well. She's like, Steph, chill. I will go and get it. We'll take it together and have a cheers and go through it together. And I was like, oh God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not amazing that it's happened to us, but it's
amazing that you were there for each other. Yeah. Which you would have been anyways. But.
Yeah, of course.
So did she have a lot of complications or
just
feelings?
Both of us, that it just turns you a little bit crazy for like a month, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're very I'd say you're quite emotional for like two weeks, and then your period is completely unregulated. Like, I think it took me a good 2 months to get my period back to normal. I think it took Mary longer. She had like 3 periods in 1 month.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's just not very nice.
Yeah.
Really. So yeah, that was the worst experience I've had, I'd say.
Yeah, so you've never been. I mean, you've been in long relationships, you know, but you've had your single moments.
Yeah.
And you're single now, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about like a bad, like.
That hasn't treated me very well.
Yeah.
I would say when I was younger, I guess, just not having, not understanding what was right or what was wrong. You know, when you first start being sexually active, I guess. Like, there was a very short period, I would say, that I was starting to go to like gigs and things. So this would have been after the first time I ever had sex, and then I didn't again, you know. But I had little experiences just with most of the time older boys that would go to these gigs. And they were band boys. I was into sort of like my metal and my like emo music at that time. You'd go to gigs, get really drunk on a bottle of vodka with your friends before you go in. And then the band members, you'd be, you know, they're in a band, you know, super excited. But there were definitely times that actually stay in my memory even now that I'm surprised haven't like affected how I am with sex at a later date, really. But like, God, I hope my mum doesn't listen to this. It will break her heart. But just like, I don't know, you go to a house party and a guy would be like, oh, come give me head. And you'd just be like, oh, yeah, all right. And because you're young and they're in a band and you don't know what's right or wrong at this time because you haven't had enough sexual experience and you don't have enough. You're just like, yeah, well, everyone else is doing this now, so I guess I should do it. And then you don't understand why you don't enjoy it, and the guy's being forceful with you, like, and that happened to me a few times. And I do think it was probably the group of people that we hung around with. There was actually when it got out a little bit later that a lot of these guys were actually like performing like illegal sexual acts on girls that were way too young, and they knew they were,
Yeah, because how old were these guys?
They were old. There was one guy took me on a date. He was 26, and I would have been 14.
So what is a legal age in the UK?
16.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, even
that's still really young.
That's too young. It's too young, man. It's way too young. Because if say it was 18, maybe you'd start thinking about it when you were 16. And then maybe you might be a little bit more, like 14. When I think now of my niece that's 10, and I think of her
4 years from now.
4 years from now, she's that, absolutely not. That is like, I think I'm only just an adult, to be honest. So I'm 29, just an adult.
I think I think I felt that way when I turned 30.
Yeah.
It's like now I'm
so there you
grown
go.
up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think everyone's perception is different of when you're an adult.
Yeah. Exactly.
And adulting is hard.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard.
Like I think I have it down now, but adulting sometimes is very hard when you're going through stuff.
You're from the age of like 22 to sort of like 26, 27 is actually a very hard period because you have a lot of like you feel like you should know by now, but you really don't.
That's the moment that you start learning.
By then, that is the moment that you start learning. And you don't have to know, and you feel like you should be somewhere or you should be doing something or you should, and you make all your mistakes in your 20s. So you think that you're making all these mistakes and, you're doing all the wrong things, and it's like, it's okay. Like you have to make these mistakes,
Totally. I think that people have a fear of making mistakes.
Yeah.
That is unnatural anyways, because we don't learn unless we make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's the best
and learning
way to
how
learn.
to deal with them, especially at that age as well, because you're not. You may feel like you're the most mature person in the entire world, but you really are at the beginning of your life, and it's okay to not understand why you do these things. Or
I don't know. Like I'm an empath, so I always had this very different perception of the world.
Yeah.
And I felt very alien within my family. And I always had this big yearning for love.
Yeah.
I remember standing in front of my window and just looking out the window. I'm like, and I knew I was gay. I knew I was gay when I was 9, but, I kind of hid it. Be like, see somewhere out there.
Yeah. I have always just wanted, I've never been that fussed about marriage or children. I've always just wanted to have someone love me as much as I love them.
Yeah.
Like
your person.
Yeah, my person. And
but it's funny because I don't think everyone is like that.
No, they're not.
So tell
Definitely
me,
not.
So, okay, but that makes sense. You're like me. You're serial monogamous.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. But you do have had your one-night stands. And how is it now? So dating now and having sex now, like what is your, how are you feeling about it? Like, would you rather just not? Or
do you
still enjoy it?
I actually had sex not last night, the night before, for the first time in 8 months. And
was it a Tinder date?
It was it was a bit nicer than a Tinder date because I saw this guy at Boddingstrasse station, and then I went home and I went on Tinder, and this just goes to show the algorithms and the fact that they do follow your location and things like that. He comes up.
No.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is really cool.
This is really cool. Comedy.
Yeah, it's really nice. So we literally planned to go meet. He noticed me at the train station too. And we were like, this is really cool. Let's meet up with each other. So we met up with each other and I actually had a really nice night with him, but I freaked out.
Why?
I had a little, I think because it's been such a long time, we went back to his and we were kissing and it was really nice and I was really enjoying it. And then all of a sudden I was like, went back to all these really bad experiences that I'd had recently. And I kind of like, just had a good 3-minute freak out in my head while we were kissing. And then I just wasn't in it. And I had to push back and just be like, I'm so sorry, but I don't want to do this tonight. And he was shocked, obviously, as well, because we had really had such a nice evening and we were kissing and it was really good.
Yeah.
And it just changed really quickly. He then got a bit distant with me and I felt really stupid because I was like, I'm finding this really hard to explain to you. I don't want to go into the ins and outs of my, bad experiences and things like this. So I then started getting very lost for words and I felt like I really couldn't articulate myself at all. And then we went and had a cigarette, came back in, we were kissing again, and then I really relaxed into it and we had some really, really nice sex. But then I think I made him feel really uncomfortable again because I had to leave because of my dog, Sky. Right. So that sounds like such an excuse as well. So we kind of, had sex. I'd already kind of stopped and then gone back into it again. And then we were kind of falling asleep and I was like, oh God, I can't fall asleep. I have to get home to walk Sky because I didn't walk her before I came out on the date, because I promised myself I wasn't going to stay, because I knew my past experiences with the one night stands, especially here, have not, I don't think I've had one here that I've enjoyed. Not one, yeah. So, and I've had a
Why is that?
I really don't know. I think it's a connection thing. So
tell me about, because this is usually my question. So you have your one night stand.
Yeah.
In this case, it was a kind of freak thing that happened.
It was a strange way that it worked out, but it was good sex.
It was good sex.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in comparison to having sex with someone that you are in love with or feel very close to, I mean, I can imagine it doesn't feel the same way. No. So how do you feel afterwards?
Most of the time, not very good.
So why do you do it?
I know, because I've spoken to so many women about this as well. And a lot of women all seem to have the same thing. You go a certain amount of time and then you're like, I really want the touch of someone else. And then you do it and you kind of hope that for somehow it will be different to the last time. And it's just not. And I can't talk for every woman because some people really can detach themselves to sex. But what I don't understand, and I found it mostly in Berlin, is it's either a one night stand where you're so detached from the other person that I'm like, you're literally just masturbating with me. Or within like 2 weeks, they're like, I want you to be my girlfriend. And it's like, where's that
one extreme to the other
bit? Yeah, like actually getting to know someone. I'm actually finding it very frustrating.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. Of course. I mean, for me, it's been a year and more than a year and a half. But that has a lot to do with my job, or ex-job at this point. I was so overwhelmed and I got so depressed.
Yeah.
I didn't have time for someone either. So I was just focusing on me. I was focusing on my cat. And so it's this feeling of guilt and depression.
That's such a horrible feeling as well.
And I was like, I need to take care of her, but I don't feel like I'm getting space to do so. How the hell am I going to fit a girlfriend in there? I don't even know.
Yeah.
So I was very focused on myself for quite a while in the new job. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But that yearning to be with someone, to have your person, that is always there when you're single. I already know, and I've always known this, it's not going to be filled with a Tinder date.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to be the secret of my success, to fill the gap of what I'm yearning for.
What you want, yeah.
What I want is so much bigger. And I do think like it takes time and patience to wait for that. And when it happens, it happens. But that's my romantic idea of how that works for me.
Yeah.
And like you just said, not every woman is the same. But I also see, and I find it a bit sad and toxic to try to fill that hole that you're feeling
With a stranger.
with a stranger.
Yeah.
And a one-night stand.
Yeah.
And what I'm fearing, and I'm really from the bottom of my heart, like what I'm fearing is that it actually makes you feel worse afterwards.
It does.
And that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no,
A
but
lot.
then why do you do it? Like
Yeah.
if it makes you feel worse.
And it also gives, when we go and do this, it also gives the other person who is, I mean, I want to say guys, unfortunately, sorry. But it gives guys the impression that it's okay to expect sex on the first date. And this is coming from someone who does it, you know? And it's, but the thing that I find strange for me is that I've only just started really not enjoying it that much. Before, I seem to be able to have fun and let go a little bit easier. But then saying that, I never used Tinder. And this is, since I've got to Berlin, it's the first time that I've used Tinder before, or any dating app, to be honest. And it's so funny because I've used it, I reckon, twice in like periods of time, you know, and every time I just delete it after. I'm like, why are you on this?
I know.
What are you doing? But then I also think that nowadays, I don't remember the last time a guy came up to me in a bar and said something to me. Like I went to a bar the other night.
Because everyone is already used to
being able to do it on their phone.
being on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's super detached.
Yeah.
So my advice is do speed dating.
Really? I've never tried that before.
I haven't tried it either. What I've heard is that speed dating, so the last podcast I did, she actually met her current boyfriend in a speed dating.
That's cool.
And
see, it's nice when you hear the
really
success
worked.
stories, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think maybe, if there's a need for it.
Yeah. So the guy that I met, that I saw at Boarding Station, he said that to me. He was like, "You're so lucky that we matched on Tinder, because then what if not? Like, if you thought that I was attractive, why didn't you come over to me?" And I was like, well, you thought I was attractive, so you could have come over to me because you were with a girl, even though it was your friend, which I realized after the train went, because they high-fived each other. They like gave each other a high five, and then that was, it was very friendly. And I was like, oh, totally could have gone over there, couldn't I? But I was on the same train as her, and he was on the platform. So, and I was like, well, you were the one that was with a girl. But then, do you know what's really funny is I always go out with my gay guy friends. Like when I go on nights out, when I go to bars, I'm always with my gay guy friends because they have the most fun, and that's who I have the most fun with. So my friend Pepe even said to me the other day, he was like, Steph, every single straight guy in here is trying to get your attention, and you're not looking at them, and you're not like, this was a very small bar. I'm not doing my horn, by the way. It was a gay night as well, so there wasn't that many straight guys. But he was like, Steph, these guys are trying to get your attention, but you're not gonna get their attention when you're with me, because you're all over me and we're very close, and they don't know that I'm gay. And I was like, oh God, yeah, and I do this every time I go out. Because I'm more interested in my friends than I am hooking up with people. The kind of relationship I want someone to be my best friend, and I want it to just be fun and comfortable and genuine.
Your person.
Yeah, exactly. So I have my friends at the moment for that. So when I go out, I really don't pay attention at all. I'm really just focused quality time with them, and just like be stupid, dance around, get drunk, like, do whatever we do on our night out, but just like focus on that person. So my energy ends up being very much focused on my friends.
You, speed dating.
Yeah. I also feel like at the moment, even though I would love to find my person, I haven't craved a relationship in the 2 years I've been here. I've just craved the physical side of it more, which is why I keep ending up in these weird little
but then that's fine
situations,
But I mean, that makes me sad though, because then what you're doing is fine.
Yeah.
But then you still feel a bit empty afterwards.
I'm just
something.
not getting that physical, like, I'm not getting satisfied, basically.
How is that though?
Because I don't think I will be easily really easily be that satisfied unless I actually have a connection with a person.
Yeah, see,
it's
so
just
you're more of a
going round
demisexual than
I'm
you
going
thought you
round
were.
in circles, basically.
No, it sounds like you're more like, if we look at the spectrum, like obviously you can have a one night stand, and that's easier for you than maybe someone else.
Yeah,
but you are more of a demisexual.
100%.
And you're probably kind of, able to fight through that and be like, I'm going to ignore that emotional connection. I'm not going to care that much about it now.
Yeah.
But in the end, that is something that you need. Like, then a fuck buddy with someone you have that emotional connection with would be a better solution.
Do you know, that would be so ideal for me right now. I would love that so much. But that is so hard to find. That is really
But then
hard
you shouldn't
to find.
sleep with someone right away either.
No, you should get to know them.
You should get to know them as well. Like, no strings attached. But, you've seen those movies. It always ends up in strings.
Well, that's exactly what happens.
Attached. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to find you a speed dating evening.
Okay.
And
I'll give it a go.
Yeah. And maybe till next time.
Yeah.
Follow up.
Ciao.
Ciao. The Sexuality Scale Project podcast is produced by me, Ganna Wolfe, in Berlin, Germany, and all of copyright goes to me. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.